So let's talk about some of the reasons why we're doing what we're doing here and why this is just a really terrible graphic representation of what we're seeing in the cut. And we're noticing that from here to here positionally, x-axis is actually doing okay. X-axis is in fact completing the, let's call it the half-inch hole that exists here. It's completing it. So when it goes from the start point down here, it goes up and makes contact with this point. This is actually the midpoint of what is the whole circle. So if there's the whole circle there, it comes up to the midpoint, begins to make its cut. Depending on what the G-code file says, it may go this way or this, but it always comes back, and you're seeing this weird little point up here where it should be right here. This point here actually should be right here, but then it's coming back down at an equal proportion. So the Y is actually going up and down, traveling within this space in an equal proportion. So, for example, for every y-axis 1, it's actually 2, so, or 1/2. So it goes 1/2 up where it's supposed to, and then comes back down exactly 1/2 in order to complete this path. But it's only in 1 or 2 positions on the table where it's coming back. If it wasn't, what you would actually see is, so if it was out of proportion, you'd actually see it come up and then come back down, and the x-axis, if the y-axis wasn't proportional, would actually have incomplete circles. You would actually see something more like that as opposed to complete circles. So we know right now that the y-axis is proportionally moving in those harder locations. So it's a consistent issue there, as opposed to something that, let's say if something was in the track and it just happened to get caught for a moment and get caught back down. So that's one of the things that I'm really trying to figure out. Why is it so proportional? What's causing this issue on particularly the y-axis? One of the ways that we're going to try to counteract that, or counter that particular maneuver, is by giving you a new profile. So we're going to send you a new profile that you'll download that essentially sets any changes that we've done, anything that you've done to your table. We've actually put it back to, we'll call it factory settings, or at least the latest version of the factory settings. There may be a couple of adjustments that we may have to make in order to properly ensure that this profile works with your system, but this new adjustment will actually help this issue. So, just something to consider. We're going to put in a new profile, see if on a programming aspect, if this is the issue, only specifically on zeros. The outside edge, not as big of a concern, but if it's only specifically on circles, I want to go ahead and see if we can counteract that, change the way that it's reacting with this current setup, and use that new profile to as an experiment, because we don't know exactly what's going on. We're going to change the profile, and we're going to see if that's going to impact the future running of the table. So you'll see a couple links to videos that walk you through exactly how to run that setup, but this is why I'm doing the new profile, is seeing, because this is proportional, we're going to change it. Let's give that a shot, see what happens.